Neuwärts FM Transformer wird präsentiert vom Transformationswerk, der Workshop- und Event-Location für Neues. Informationen zu Räumen, Menschen und Methoden auf transformationswerk.de.
Welcome to the playground.
You think you've seen it all? Neuwärts FM.
Ready for transformation? Who says that doesn't work?
And here is your host, Ingo Stoll.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Neuwärts FM Transformer podcast. Within this international episode number 43, I promise you polarizing thesis on psychometric targeting, algorithms and artificial intelligence, and the so-called post-privacy world by a very special guest, psychologist and data scientist Dr. Michal Kosinski. He is the man who was accused he helped Donald Trump to win the last election using his algorithms during the election campaign. So you see, we talk about influence and we talk about big data, and I hope you're ready. We get in.
Insights.
Yeah, hello and welcome back. We are here at the Seabed, and it's my pleasure to say hello to Michal Kosinski. He is Stanford University professor and one of the most requested people these days here at the Seabed. That's my impression. So, am I right? Am I wrong?
Apparently, you have a very nice tie, so everyone just wants to take a picture with me.
Yeah, we put
tie.
the picture in the show notes because this is an audio podcast.
It's totally worth it.
But
it's an
worth
amazing
it.
tie.
Yeah, you shouldn't miss this, definitely. And what you shouldn't miss as well is listening during the next couple of minutes, because we're going to talk about psychometric targeting.
That sounds really spooky, this whole psychometrics word, doesn't it?
It does, definitely. So psycho in any way is spooky. So what is it all about?
Well, in fact, is the part of psychology that I think affects most of us. It's probably the part of psychology that has the largest impact on the society. And interestingly, people don't even realize that. So everyone has heard about psychotherapy. Everyone has heard about psychology or social psychology. Very few people heard about psychometrics. Now, psychometrics is basically a science of psychological measurement. So trying to measure psychological traits such as your knowledge of geography or your personality or your intelligence or maybe your happiness. And now you can clearly see, now that I kind of translated it into practice, how important it is. Think about university entrance exams. Think about tests that you have at
all kind
school.
Of tests.
Work assessment, occupational assessment when we hire people. So basically, most of us will go through a psychometric process, through psychological assessment many times in our lives, and those processes will really affect the real outcomes. They will help us to find the right job. They will decide whether we get to the university that we want to get to, and so on. So I think that basically this is really important to remember that basically psychometricians are working hard to make this assessment as accurate as possible.
So if I would say, like, it's psychology meets big data.
Well, in fact, traditional psychometrics doesn't have to do much with big data. It's when you think about questionnaires and tests and surveys, basically those would be traditional psychometric tools. And the history of the field goes 2,000 years back when they started using tests in occupational testing in China, where people were candidates for civil service. Instead of being selected based on birth or how wealthy they were, they started being selected based on how smart they were, and basically how smart they were was measured using very early psychometric tests.
So if we enter this field, one of the outcomes is tools, right? Tools for testing or tools for predicting consumer behavior maybe. And this, I'm a marketer, and data-driven marketing, psychology-driven marketing. I mean, it's pretty clear. This is what marketing is all about. And now we enter maybe a new potential field of, well, being even more efficient and effective on marketing.
I totally agree with you. So traditional psychometrics, was great. It really helped, helps people find the right job and find the right university course. Companies can use it to find the best skilled employees to fill the positions. But also traditional psychometrics has many downsides, or there are many difficulties there. Like taking tests really takes a lot of time. Also, people can cheat on a test, or when it's a personality test, they can just misrepresent themselves. And it's actually very difficult to distinguish between a person that is really well organized or just say that they're really well organized if you just use a questionnaire. Now, what we can do today is we can look at the actual behavior of people. So instead of just asking you to, hey, tell me, whether you're organized or spontaneous or whatnot, I can look at your digital footprints and see whether you, over many, many years in which your digital footprints were accruing, if you really were behaving in a way that conscientious people or open-minded people or extroverted people or whatever I'm looking for tend to behave. Now, advantages of that is, first, it's really cheap and can be applied to large groups of people, which is great because we can bring the benefits of psychological assessment to people who are completely deprived of that in the past. Look, if you apply for a CEO position, there will be, a psychologist sitting with you for days often and trying to make sure that, you fit the company and the company fits you. If you're going for your first job in the grocery store, or you just graduated from the university and you go for your first job, no one cares because basically it costs a lot of money to hire a psychologist or a psychometrician to measure your psychological traits. Now, the time of a psychologist is expensive, but the time of an algorithm is really cheap. So we can basically bring the benefits to many more people, let's say in the context of searching for jobs or searching for perfect career, or maybe even psychological care and psychological healthcare, where you can detect psychological, help people to detect and diagnose their psychological issues, even if before it was too expensive for them to actually go and talk to a real, human psychologist. Now, basically, those algorithms can help you to give access to people that are deprived of this access. But also, what you can do, you can now bring the benefits of psychometrics to all of those fields that were previously deprived of it. Like, you could not really imagine giving people questionnaires when they enter the store, right? Like, no one would do that. Now, when you use Amazon or you use Netflix or you use other online marketplaces, what happens is that, okay, you can go there and buy stuff, but also the website will observe what you're doing, or maybe buy some digital footprints of yours from other places, and then use it to basically optimize your experience.
If I imagine salespeople today or marketers today, it must be like a paradise vision of doing one-on-one marketing with the whole track record of proven behavioral statistics and saying, you don't have to tell me what you want, I know already, right?
And it's great not only from the perspective of the marketers, but it's also great from the perspective of the customers. Before, customers had limited access to information. So if you didn't use something, you probably didn't even know whether you wanted or not. So the discovery process was very often expensive. You were just at the mercy of marketers who would decide, this is what you need and we'll try to sell it to you. You didn't really know whether the properties, the qualities of the product would match your profile. Now, today, those powerful recommendations mechanisms, they can look at the behavior of millions of people potentially and now see, okay, if a person that is extroverted buys this product, they tend to be happy with it. If an introvert buys this product or buys this book, they tend to be unhappy with it or maybe just don't finish reading it. And now you can take this knowledge that, at the end of the day, it's not really artificial intelligence that creates this knowledge. It's just our kind of aggregate human experience. Now, artificial intelligence can aggregate this human experience and give you an advice way better than you could get from a living human being, right? Your librarian has never, ever read all of the books out there. And also your librarian wouldn't know you so intimately as the algorithm can know you.
So it's the ultimate consultancy, right?
Well, we are still far away from the ultimate consultancy, but
As a
we are
vision
definitely
or
getting there.
potential, yeah.
And we're solving many other problems. So, librarian choosing books for you, it's not only that you'll find new interesting books to read, but you also can go beyond the psychological and ideological limitations of your librarian. What if your librarian had particular, political views and he would not, even know literature that was outside of his worldview? Now, algorithm would not have those limitations, so it can basically be a discovery tool. And in fact, this is what recommender systems are, that there's this myth there that, oh my God, now we live in these information bubbles and the computers are giving us what we want and hence we kind of somehow limit it. This is just absolutely not true. This is rubbish. Why? Because, first of all, no one wants to see the same thing twice. So what happens is that computers work really hard to find some new things that you will enjoy and like. So obviously, we call it in psychology confirmation bias. So obviously people just kind of don't like to stretch it too much. If you're a liberal person, you kind of don't really like reading conservative news so much. Maybe from time to time, but not so much. In the other way around. And it's natural for human beings. The healthy human brain, unfortunately or fortunately, just does not want to be exposed to information that defies, what we believe in. We kind of like to minimize that. Now, the algorithms would really try to stretch that. Why? Because from the point of view of an advertiser, from the point of view of Facebook, it's really beneficial to try to show you more and more and more diverse information. And we can see actually across the board that people are become more diverse in what they consume in terms of culture, in terms of information, in terms of knowledge. Simple number here. Number of unique artists that a given person listened to on Spotify grew by 20% in 2016 only. It's insane. There was this whole story was like, oh my God, now everyone will be listening to Lady Gaga because of the tipping point and whatever other, kind of pseudo-psychological or scientific theories were proposed. But what we actually can see that those algorithms help you to discover content that otherwise you wouldn't get access to.
Of course, if these are the potentials, you find some people say, well, there are some risks as well. And there are some people who say, well, your algorithms or your tools helped facilitate Donald Trump's victory in the last election, right?
Well, most of the tools that humanity ever developed can be used to improve our existence and bring us beautiful things. And they can also be used to ruin it. And can be basically applied to our disadvantage. And algorithms are no different. You can use them to help people to discover new books or learn new things or find a good job, but you can also use exactly the same algorithm to find a right way of influencing you to do something. And now, influence on its own, again, it's not bad. If you design an algorithm that will try to discourage young people or influence young people so they don't smoke, I think that most of the people would agree, hey, this is a great algorithm, let's, work on it. But the same algorithm can be then asked to discourage people from voting or spread or try to convince them that, people are not equal or races are not equal or whatnot, right? So you can basically use the same tool that can be used to greatly improve human existence, that can be used to make our lives more miserable as well.
So do you undertake attempts to find out what your customers actually do with it?
Oh, I don't have any customers. I'm working at the university, so I don't sell any products. Well, I do have products. My products are my scientific publications, and I believe in open science, so my products are available, my publications are available to everyone to read. I never developed a commercial model for anyone. Mm-hmm. I would develop a model to basically show what's possible. Because now it's really important to understand what's possible, because let's face it, companies and big organizations, they hire hundreds of people who know how to work with data. Universities can't really compete, let's face it, in terms of salaries and conditions and access to data as well. But basically, I see myself working in the university. I see myself as a person whose mission is to study and see what can be done with people's data, what can we learn about people based on their data, how we can improve their existence using data, but also look at what are the risks awaiting us. I'm not really creating I do create my algorithms, but let's face it, companies can also create algorithms, and they do it all the time, and probably they're way more sophisticated, whatever we can create with limited budgets and limited manpower in the academia. But companies would not tell you what's possible. Now, I see myself as a person who tells the general public and policymakers about what are the potential advantages and disadvantages of big data.
So what makes your project and your algorithms so powerful if there are so many companies out there developing algorithms? So what's it that's so beneficial?
Special. Oh, nothing is special. Nothing is special about it. It's special because I'm talking about it. So and companies would do things like that, and they would not talk about it. So, and also we have to understand perhaps that these days it's not really humans coming up with the models and coming up with equations. When you had Einstein in the past, he was sitting down and really thinking hard, and then he would come, with E equals mc squared, and it was big. There was a lot of thinking there, and someone could steal that, or he decided to share it with the world. It's great, right? Now, today it doesn't work like that. Today, science really is done by computers, and scientists are merely reduced to people who interpret what computer kind of found and understood and trying to translate it to a language that will be understandable to other scientists and also to general public. So now you don't really sit down and design your secret model that translates digital footprints into personality predictions or whatnot. No, you just take a AI mechanism that you can just download from internet for free. You take your laptop and you give you show to the model 100,000 people with their intelligence scores or personality scores, or whether they, were successful at a given job or not. You feed the algorithm with information about these people's digital footprints, and you say, now go and figure. And the algorithm would, burn some electricity, spend some time, and will arrive at this model that allows you to predict one from another. Now, this is obviously just the start of enormous complexity here, because those models can be biased. They can be accurate only in case of the data that you trained it with. No one really understands how the models work because they're so sophisticated and so complicated that it's just beyond human comprehension. And actually, I think the statement that they're so sophisticated is wrong, because in fact they're pretty simple. They're built of those very simple building blocks. When you think, let's say, about neural networks, those are just, a school kid can understand how a neural network works. It's just that then when you scale it up and train the network that has millions of layers and gazillions of neurons, it's just the complexity of this thing becomes completely incomprehensible for a human being. So we have those tools, we have those shiny tools that do things for us, and we know that they are more accurate than humans are, yet we don't really understand how they work. Which also brings me to another problem, is that the very same advantages that make psychological assessment based on digital footprints so great, low cost, being able to apply it to data that you collect, from public sources, and people can just donate it to you very quickly with one click. The very same properties make this approach also very risky from the point of view of privacy, because it can be applied by bad actors without people knowing, and very cheaply and on a very large scale. So something that, in Germany in the past, you needed to hire 100,000 people to run Stasi. Now, you probably would need, a student in a dorm room with a laptop and internet connection to gather an enormous, unimaginable amount of information about people very quickly. And also what's interesting is that it's not only what you do directly on the internet. So, if you listen to Lady Gaga and you listen to Poker Face 100 times yesterday, first of all, it's weird. But second of all, we learned that you like Lady Gaga. But you don't need a rocket scientist to tell you that. Now, what algorithm can tell you, can look at your playlist and say, and by the way, this person is an atheist, he's liberal, he's gay, he's whatnot. Basically, discover all of those intimate traits that you never thought you were revealing just by clicking on songs online.
Is there any chance to keep up privacy if I don't want to, leave footprints, digital footprints somehow? Is it just unplugging myself from what I do?
Oh, you can't unplug today. This is impossible. You need to. You can't pay with cash increasingly. Also, disconnecting and unplugging yourself would be bad for everyone. It would be bad for you because you would unplug yourself from all of those amazing tools like Google, like online banking, like online education, like Facebook, like messaging. Those are all technologies that making our lives better, more filled with knowledge and happiness and contacts with other people. So stepping back would be bad for you, would be bad for your friends as well. I bet your friends wouldn't be very happy if the only way to communicate with you would be to send you a mail pigeon, right? It's just good for them as well that you're online and you're accessible. But at the end of the day, also it would be bad for society. I think people think about big data in a very selfish manner. They think, oh my God, what if people know, my health history? This would be very bad. Look, there are risks, of course. There are risks that are related to the fact that people would know your health history or your clicks on Google. But you have to remember that now this data in the aggregate form can also help us to find cure for disease. It can help us to identify trends in health of the entire societies that can be used to basically save lives. And also, in terms of, let's say, Google search, revealing your searching behavior to Google is also helping Google now to improve the searching experience for all the other people. So it's a bit ridiculous if people say, oh, I want to charge for my data and whatnot. Not only is it just not doable, it's silly because obviously the moment you start charging for data, there will be a lot of bad actors who would try to manipulate that and produce fake data and whatnot, so this market could never work. But also it's just so selfish. Like, share it with the others. So there's no way of getting out. And because there's no way of getting out, and also because people share increasing amount of information, and algorithms are getting more powerful at turning this information that we reveal, like our playlists or Facebook history or search history, into very intimate and very accurate predictions of our future behaviors, our psychological traits, our preferences. We basically have to accept that there's going to be no privacy in the future. We're very quickly going towards no privacy age, and the sooner we stop fighting our little battles for, let's win, this regulation or that regulation, then just make companies move to other countries or rename a variable in the database to make it, to avoid the law. The sooner we accept, look, it's not great that we're heading towards the time without privacy. It's just a byproduct of the amazing technologies we have now that are saving lives and improving lives and making our lives longer and more enjoyable. But they also produce the byproduct, which is the end of privacy. And the sooner we actually focus on, so how to organize our societies, our cultures, our laws in such a way as to accommodate that fact, the better for us. So let's stop talking about how to regain some privacy, which is just not happening. Let's just talk about how to live in a post-privacy world.
This is a brilliant idea, and I think it's saving a lot of energy, instead of fighting. And we've seen it in the past, all these fights. I mean, we can't stop in innovation and technology from happening. And I think what do you think about these ethical discussions, like ethic design on algorithms? I mean, to me it appears that very few people know what we are talking about there. For many people it's so abstract. I mean, how do you explain these things to your mom or to a person, I don't know, in the age of 70, 80, whatever?
How do you explain those things to a scientist? How do you explain those things to the expert? Look, an engineer that designs CPUs, that designs processors, they understand how a single gate works, but they cannot comprehend with the brain the entire processor, because just the whole entity becomes so complicated that even if you know exactly what's happening on a kind of a small scale, on the large scale, the system basically defies human comprehension. The same about brain. We have a very good idea how the neuron works. We have a very good idea how the brain of a little worm works. There are like 200 neurons. We can simulate it. We know how it works. We nailed it. Now you scale it to the human brain, or even whatever, you scale it to a fly's brain, and it's just becomes so complicated. The human brain most likely, in fact, will never be able to understand that. Why? Because is just such a complicated system. We did not evolve to do it. And there are like very interesting processes that happen in science now. When you were Leonardo da Vinci, in 1 year or 2 years, you could of studying, there were 2 books on a subject, you could reach the absolute cutting edge of a given scientific field. Now to reach an absolute edge of a scientific field, to actually become a productive scientist that contributes new things, you need to spend 10, 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
Now, human life is limited. So by the time you reach the moment when actually your brain is like, okay, now I know everything there's to know, I will start designing new things, it's also a time to retire, and your brain is just not so strong anymore, because we know that from 16 actually is just going down in terms of its computing power.
Well, we listened to Ray Kurzweil. He's working out that might be a bit more. Maybe we have a decade on top or something.
We can probably help. We can improve it a bit. But on the end of the day, I'm worrying is that what I'm worrying, or maybe actually it's great on the other hand, what I basically see is that going forward, it will be artificial intelligence and not human intelligence that makes progress in science, in organizing societies maybe even. And we actually can see it already happening. It's just that people don't recognize it for what it is. When you have policy advisors telling governments, look, if you raise the taxes or decrease the taxes, this will happen. Do you think they just sat there like in the morning and figured it out? No. They were running very complicated models that they on huge amounts of data, and those models told them this is what you should do to, grow the economy or decrease crime or whatnot. And then they go to politicians, and in fact, if politicians are smart, they usually basically follow the advice of the computer. Why? Because we know that this bloody computer is so so accurate. It's actually making me even feel weird and uneasy about it, because, I'm a bit uneasy about things making decisions in my name that I know that they're mostly right, and are definitely more right than whatever humans could do, on one hand, but on the other hand, I have no way, and I don't see a way of actually understanding it. So I basically have to just trust it. And we know that intelligence, something sometimes go wrong. Human intelligence very often goes wrong. Artificial intelligence will also go wrong, but we wouldn't perhaps even have a way of comprehending it.
Yeah. So final question, what gives you the hope that we get it right with all these potentials?
Well, we on one hand, I would say that we got right many other deadly technologies like nuclear power or machine gun, and getting there actually cost, unfortunately, a lot of lives. But at the end of the day, humanity figured that out, and I hope that we'll take a lesson from the past, and we'll have more discussions like we are having today to basically make sure that we reap the benefits of big data. And it's unavoidable, because people are lazy, people want good solutions. So, even if you tell them that they should not use Facebook because it's bad for the privacy, they would say whatever, that's really worrying, but then they would just go and, open Facebook anyway in the evening, full stop. It's just, to a large extent, unstoppable. So we need those discussions to make sure that going forward we will stay as safe and as healthy and more safe and more healthy and more happy than we are today. And everyone kind of points in this direction. When you look at the progress of the humanity, of course there are those disasters that drag us down. But the general trend is just unmistakable. We have more and healthier and better educated and more open-minded people living more fulfilling lives. And now algorithms are playing a huge role in it.
Well, Michal Kosinski, when listeners want to get more information or cover what you do, what you publish, where would you send them?
I would strongly suggest that they go to the website called Apply Magic Sauce. Sauce, like ketchup sauce. ApplyMagicSauce.com, where they can check the simple psychometric tools that translate their likes into predictions of the psychological traits. And I would also encourage them to follow me on Twitter. Yeah. Go to my website, michalkosinski.com, and see updates and my publications.
Yeah, something we would highly recommend. So thanks for taking your time out of a busy day.
Thank you. It was a great pleasure to talk to you.
And the discussion will go on, definitely. Thanks. Well, did I promise too much at the beginning of this episode? As I said, it's gonna be polarizing. No, I think I didn't, right? We all are heading towards really exciting times, whether you regard algorithms and big data as whatever, the most beneficial thing to human society, or hell on earth, the future of big data and the post-privacy era. Please let us know what you think. You find us and further show notes on www.neuwerts.fm/transformer/043 for episode 43, and definitely on the social channel of your choice. So it's up to me to say thank you for listening. Please give us some rating and shout out on iTunes if you feel like it. And tune in again in 2 weeks' time, because we're gonna be there every second Friday. And the next episode, 044, we're gonna talk to Judith and Markus Klubs about an honest inventory of the brave new work movement. So take care, ciao ciao, and happy transformation.